And we're live. Welcome back to the LOOPcast. Warm welcome to everyone in the chat. Today joined by Erica and Josh. And, in the green room behind, Josh's first comments on first episode back. Last episode, just okay. What were we lacking, Josh?
I mean, I don't know. I think you're still recovering from your, death coronavirus or whatever the heck you had.
Say like norovirus or whatever.
Norovirus, yeah.
It was a stomach bug.
Something that, I'm like, come on, man. Just because I had to go leave 11 degrees in northern Michigan and fly down to southwest Florida for meetings. Although I do have to admit, in between the meetings, I made a quick little jaunt for 15 minutes and dipped my toes into the Gulf of America. So that was
gosh dang it.
Yes.
I'm actually mad you made that joke because I was going to make that joke and you got to make that joke before I ever got to say Gulf of America, which sounds fantastic.
It's a beautiful thing.
To think that I attended college in Naples and the entire time I was just swimming in the Gulf of Mexico when I could have been swimming in the Gulf of America makes me a little sad now.
You're headed back. You're going to be there, Pogo.
I hope so. I hope I'll make it down there. We'll see. But Josh, we're happy to have you back. We got a good episode here ahead of us. We got 2 weeks of Trump
since Monday, right? I mean, it's
oh no, it's been really slow. It's been slow.
Oh man, no.
I need to create a Loop Pro. Get some calls to USAID here, man.
Marco Rubio, can you subscribe to Loop Pro?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, he's at the State
Department. Not just you, but like everyone in the entire federal government, please.
Throw us some USAID. We'll take it. But yeah, if we get everyone can listen to Eddie in the chat currently, click that like and subscribe. I don't say that enough, but if you're here and you're not subscribed, you want to hang out with us, please subscribe. We appreciate that. We got Qdesius. Brian Birch needs to advise in the Paula White situation. We'll talk about that today too. Don't worry. We got a great show ahead of us, but I'd say we start here. We're at 2 weeks of Trump. And just to start, honestly, doing this show has been so much fun. I'll say one of the challenges is you have to stop consuming new information to go back over the information that we already have had. And it's challenging because it's so much fun to get into the new information, seemingly part of the point. But at this point, there's not an exact number people can agree on. But most people agree there's been over 220 executive orders in the first 2 weeks of Trump's presidency. At this point, there's been 13 confirmations out of 22. Now, Josh, political nerd, what's the precedent on that? Are we even in a ballpark of any other president being this productive?
Not on the executive orders, not even close. I mean, the confirmation stuff, you have to remember the recent history of confirmations has been, for Republicans, a lot slower. I mean, in general, it's not like, Secretary of Defense, Homeland Security, State, Treasury, those kind of things get confirmed quickly in pretty much each of the presidencies, no matter what. And then the Democrats have been very obstructionist. They're the ones who start this game, and this idea that just about every single member of a party is going to vote no on almost every single confirmation. I mean, that's what they did in Trump won. And it's so unprecedented. And then then it just keeps happening to the point where everyone's used to it. Like, it's still kind of ridiculous. Whereas Republicans have not responded yet in kind. Like, scads of Republicans voted for Biden nominees, including Lloyd Austin and, Alejandro
Rachel
Mayorkas,
Levine, right.
And give me a break. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So, but the pace now, the only thing that's holding up the pace from going any faster is because when Democrats had started, again, they're the ones who talk about norms. They're always the first to break the norms. Okay. So, the idea of like filibustering, not just legislation, but like a nomination for somebody, like, they filibuster someone, under Lyndon Johnson for the Supreme Court. And that was like a whoa. And then like it never really happened for a long, long time after that. And then the last 30 years, filibustered everything and everyone. I mean, I could go back chapter and verse about how under George W. Bush, they filibustered so many qualified judicial candidates. And then it just became like, oh, we're going to do this for everything. And it just became like a new norm. And Republicans like, well, that's not supposed to be the way it is. And they just carry on. But see, Democrats then were the ones that finally nuked the filibuster for nominations. But like, well, we're not going to do it for the Supreme Court. We're just going to do it for lower court nominees and cabinet posts. And so now like Mitch McConnell's whole point was like, well, be careful what you ask for,
Right.
because they have
Right.
no ability then. Like in their minds, the most insidiously evil nominee is Russ Vogt. He's like the worst in their mind because he knows how this government functions.
Yeah.
And now he's going to, up for Office of Management and Budget.
He's
He was the acting guy last time. So the Democrats were absolutely freaked out. They're holding press conferences and they're screaming into their microphones. They're having a vote in the Senate, and Senator Warren is screaming during the vote. And they're like, this is not the time for the debate.
Man, this is a Wendy's.
Erica, I keep bringing this up, but Chris Murphy, little real pat on the bat tweet.
Man.
After taking the 2 to 5 shift, AM shift on the Senate floor last night for our overnight protest, got 2 hours of crappy sleep on my office couch. Right back at it today. We don't rest. Keep it going. Democracy's on the line. With a picture of a Red Bull can.
Just
and
remember, every time they say democracy, they really mean bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Totally. So the bureaucracy is on the line. And the fact of the matter is, the Democrats couldn't stop it because Republicans have the majority. And on a 53-47 party line vote, the Senate confirmed yesterday Russ Vogt. It looks like Vought, but it's actually pronounced vote. So I almost feel like today we're Catholic vote, Vought, just to honor him as a joke.
Today.
Just for today.
Wait, so Democrats are against voting?
No. This is the guy. Bernie Sanders made a big deal of him the first time, but that he was too Christian or whatever. So, but he is this is his first full day working at the Office of Management and Budget, and I can tell you guys, for so long, like, okay, that sounds like accounting and boring and process and paperwork. Everything that all conservatives have been so excited about USAID spending being cut and finding out and exposing all this garbage, like, paying for a transgender comic book and, Sesame Street in Iraq and all this stuff. You're like, what the heck is all this crap? Russell Vogt, you think you haven't seen nothing yet. This guy is going to rip off like major band-aids and you're going to be like, oh my goodness. And they are going to shriek and howl and scream at the moon, these Democrats, because what's happening is we're not doing George W. Bush. We're like, let's try to do the entitlements. They're cutting off these pigs at the trough. Okay. They are cutting off these people.
That is a mental image
I mean, they are high on the hog. They are eating that slop. And we're like, not anymore, buddy.
Welcome back, Josh.
And everyone, and the Democrats are like, we are screaming and yelling into the press. And you need to listen to us. And the American people are like, I love what I hear.
Yep.
Did you see the sympathy piece from the Wall Street Journal on DC neighborhoods bracing for government layoffs? It was like, the cushiest burbs are now.
Wall Street Journal, you're thinking hyper-capitalist, free market. These guys are going to love government being cut. Bull crap. Wall Street Journal is like controlled opposition, safe quote, mainstream Republican. We'll throw you little tax cuts. We'll build up the defense industry by bombing other countries, but they don't give a crap about anything. And when we were fighting in the tax fight in 2017, hey, we got to do more for like child tax credits. Like, this is going to cost so much money. I'm like, shut up.
You don't get to say that. You don't get to say
that. The editorial page of Wall Street Journal is okay. The weekend section's awesome. I love you guys. But the main newspaper part of the Wall Street Journal,
They probably get USAID. We'll find out next week. I don't know.
Okay, that was phenomenal. Welcome back, Josh.
That's great. We missed you.
Erica. I would like to hear from you. Maybe we're not as deep in this as Josh has been his entire life, watching CNN as a child.
Yeah.
However, something is very different about this time around, especially for Trump. But just in general, I'd say for like a Republican period, a president period to be this effective. So what do you think the secret sauce has been this time around, week 2?
Well, one, these people were prepared, the whole Trump administration. And I think like I am on board with Josh's assessment that, maybe more often we should have an interruption between two presidencies, right? Like he's had 4 years to get his act together. And he said during the campaign, day one, we are going to hit the ground running. And boy, was he serious? I mean, he had thousands of staffers already lined up. All these executive orders were pretty much written already, and he's just sitting there and signing. Like he's burning a hole in the resolution desk with his Sharpie. I mean, it's just going so fast. And I think too, and a lot of people have been pointing this out over at Daily Wire, Free Press, Scott Jennings. I mean, everyone's saying it. Trump is so focused on the 80-20 issues. I mean, he is going in for immigration shutting the border. He's going in for getting men out of women's sports. These are issues that overwhelmingly the American people are behind him on, which is why we're seeing his approval ratings, so high right now. It's astonishing. So Trump 2.0 is prepared, it's focused, and it's going. He's not batting like 100, but I'd say he's batting 99.
It's 1,000, girlfriend. Right. Watch some sports. My gosh.
Yeah.
No,
wait, Erica, no.
Batting 1,000.
You stepped in it again.
I have a couple of.
You know what? Honestly, you're in good company because JD Vance said it the other day. I'm like, gosh, come on, buddy. You're not watching enough Cincinnati Reds. Okay.
Yeah, he can't be perfect.
Thing. Like, yeah, I know. She's perfect in just about everything else. But I mean, the Democrats they created their own monster on this one. Okay. I mean, as this guy, Luke Rosiak, said, they built the world's biggest rake and then they stomped on it. Okay. So Obama created a White House office to hire all these Silicon Valley nerds, right? And they were exempt from the traditional government rules, right? So from 2017 to 2020, that staff was used to undermine the Trump White House from within.
100%.
Okay. Then Biden gets in. What does he do? He puts that under a political appointee. Ding, 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 ding.
Don't have
so
to
it's like a little, even more untouchable. So Trump gets in and he goes,
political
DOGE.
Appointee.
Boom.
So
and the story
really
behind the story.
Be clear about that. So DOGE has been able to be so effective because it isn't this novel. It's basically just it's what they do with drugs, kind of. Like they create a drug and then they license it, and then you can't use it for this, but it's already been licensed by the FDA, so they'll just switch it around and use it for something else. Basically, this is essentially what he's done with DOGE.
I mean, there's a whole story. I'll send you the link here, and we can put it in the chat. I don't, this guy, he goes through inside this whole revolution and in totally rewiring American power. Mm-hmm. My friend Tito Edwards sent it to me, and I'm like, "What?" It was like, this is insane. Like, this is crazy.
Are you talking about the kid? Sorry, Echo Override. Echo
yeah, exactly. Did you see
that?
That was going to be my Twilight Zone
story.
So man,
yeah,
I mean, it's just it's amazing. I mean, they get in there, they map out where all the spending is, they turn the and they get behind the scenes and they turn the spigot off, and before anyone had any idea, and then the Treasury guys are like, oh, I'm coming to work regular, another. I guess let's see how this first day goes at the government, and it's like everything has been totally disrupted. They can't get access. They can't, the spigot's been cut and all the money was shot off.
Pictures are sick.
They did an end run around the bureaucracy on the funding. It's just been a sight to be seen.
Let me do a small section from it because I was going to have it as my Twilight Zone because it was so well written and something that Tinfoil Tom, who I think did a great job on Wednesday, I'll defend his honor. But he sent it to me and he's like, I just wish that people on the right would start picking up this storytelling style because it was so well written and there's a real narrative to it. So the part that I picked out was while career bureaucrats prepared orientation packets and welcome memos, DOGE's team was already deep inside the payment systems. No committees, no approvals, no red tape, just 4 coders with unprecedented access and algorithms ready to run. The beautiful thing about payment systems, noted a transition official watching their screens, is that they don't lie. You can spin policy all day long, but the money leaves a trail. That trail led to staggering discoveries. Programs marked as independent revealed coordinated funding streams. Grants labeled as humanitarian aid showed curious detours through complex networks. Black budgets, once shrouded in secrecy, began to unravel under algorithmic scrutiny. By 6 a.m., Treasury's career officials began arriving for work. They found systems they thought impenetrable already mapped. Networks they believed hidden already exposed. Power structures built over decades revealed in hours. Their traditional defenses, slow-walking decisions, leaking damaging stories, stonewalling requests, proved useless against an opponent moving faster than their systems could react. By the time they drafted their first memo objecting to this breach, 3 more systems had already been mapped. Pull this thread, a senior official warned, watching patterns emerge across DOGE's streams, and the whole sweater unravels. He wasn't wrong, but he misunderstood something crucial. This was exactly the point. This wasn't just another transition. This wasn't just another reform effort. This was the start of something unprecedented, a revolution powered by preparation, presidential will, and technological precision. The storm had arrived, and the Treasury was just the beginning.
And it was great because they had this whole thing down. The pattern was simple.
Mm-hmm.
You map the money flow, deploy aligned personnel, expose the networks, and then restructure the systems. And everyone was caught blindsided. And
Right.
it was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, because before the deep state, the fourth state, all this stuff would just, Trump would issue a memo telling him what to do. And being the CEO of his own company, he thought, okay, then they would do it. And like, he didn't realize they would just like absolutely foil them in every way, including the military. That one actually was the most shocking. Like Milei would say, oh, sure. And then would just not execute the order. And it's like, it's unreal. Like, I mean, how does that happen? Like, do we not have civilian control of the military anymore? So now this was an amazing, that whole article, we'll link to it in the chat or whatever. Get some popcorn out. It is amazing.
It's a great read. It's like it's reading like a Jack Ryan novel. It's awesome. Really well done. I want to just point out too, I mean, everyone watching the left this week just throw a hissy fit and scream. And we had protests outside of USAID and other government buildings. And we had Elon Musk my Twilight Zone. I'm going to pull it up now. My Twilight Zone is the cover of Time magazine today. I don't know if you can pull that photo,
yeah, let's pull that.
This was great. I mean, this is unconstitutional. It's a threat to our democratic order. There's nothing. The beautiful thing is Trump isn't doing anything remotely unconstitutional. Here we go. Time magazine today. President Elon. It's just a picture of Elon Musk, big red background at the president's desk with the flags behind him. And it's just, a nice Photoshop op there. But basically what Trump has done is he's using the apparatus, the apparatchik constructed by progressive Democrats and tolerated by Rhino Republicans. And he is it's like a virus going inside the host body and taking over.
What if we flip the switch?
Yeah, we'll just flip the switch. It'll be beautiful. It'll be big.
I mean, I know you guys talked about it a little bit on the last episode. I can't help but comment on this. Like the last week we find out that Politico couldn't make payroll for their employees. And like some people were joking, gosh, I wonder if it's because they're getting money from USAID. And then it was that they literally were. I'm like, oh my gosh.
We were joking, but it's true.
Oh my word. It was so frustrating. And as one of the commentators online, Banshee, I love me over at Red State. He's like, if Fox News, just imagine it. If Fox News had created a Fox News Pro product and the Trump administration shoveled tens of millions of dollars towards this Fox News Pro. I mean, to think that the left wouldn't absolutely lose their mind. I mean, literally heads actually exploding.
And do you think they would accept the explanation that Politico gave? They're like, oh, bye, Tom. See you later. Pogo's gone. Do you think they would accept the explanation? So Politico comes out this week with a statement and the CEO says, oh, but Politico, our reporting, is a separate website from Politico Pro. So clearly there's no...
And they're just subscriptions. People are just,
they're just subscriptions. They're $10,000 subscriptions. I mean, that's half of my taxes for the year. I think we were pointing that out earlier before the show.
Absolutely insane.
Unbelievable.
So these guys are so full of crap.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the whole point of it is just you feather the nests of your friends. That's what it's, as you said, it is money laundering at the highest levels. Mm-hmm. And, do you expect Politico to be writing articles in support of limited government when they're getting millions of dollars from the big bloated bureaucracy? Probably not.
And the other point that the left is making, is everyone gone? Wow.
I don't know. I'm still here.
Okay, Josh is still here. His screen just went black. I think maybe USAID is cutting our funding, guys. What's going on?
I know, it's amazing.
But anyway, the point I was going to make is the other argument from the left right now, and this is coming from leftist Catholics as well, unfortunately, they're saying, oh, well, USAID, it's less than 1% of the budget. Why are we so obsessed? Just leave it alone. This is the wrong, you guys are such morons. That's not the point here. The point is, one, USAID is just the first of many. I mean, DOGE is going to keep going. We're going to uncover more crap. It's going to all be exposed. And that's why they're rattling the cage so hard.
I mean, if the federal government had decided that we're going to spend, like $8 million building a large, statue of Ronald Reagan in California. The left was like, this is a waste of money. Like, but it's only like just a
10%,
tiny amount of money. Who cares?
No,
I mean,
it's not.
obviously these guys are so full of crap. I mean, it's
Um,
almost like they're
It's
lying.
almost like they're lying. Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, okay, so Tom was going to have us, hopefully he's coming back, but he was going to have us dig a little more into the USAID thing.
Hey,
He's back.
Okay, it's gonna be
What's
tough
going
working out of
on?
an office with no Wi-Fi. I don't know what to say.
Oh, brother. Is
We're
it
back
Fuzzy
on-
Tom again?
Yeah, Fuzzy Tom again.
Fuzzy
Got no-
Tom. Oh, that's
So
rough. That's
frustrating.
rough. Yeah,
That
it's unbelievable.
USAID grant for
Yep.
Catholic World's Wi-Fi didn't go through, obviously.
Yeah. We've been getting USAID clearly.
That's a joke for some people out there. Just so you know.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
Oh my gosh.
Where were you guys, Josh? I know you were cooking.
We were going into USAID again because you had a bunch of notes on just following up on that. It just gets worse.
I cannot
more and
describe
more
how
stuff.
angry I am. I feel like I'm living in the Truman Show. Like the amount of deception that has been happening by our own government. So like a great example would that be Christianity Today. Did you guys talk about Christianity Today?
My goodness.
No, we
did not
didn't
get
get
into
there.
that yet. No.
Mm.
So, and I'm not going to lie. I went into the payment system and looked up America Magazine. I wouldn't be shocked if they were getting some. I was like, I'm looking at everyone now, basically. So when I saw Christianity Today, kind of formally, I understand to be a reputable magazine for evangelical Christians or something like that. And then
they took a big turn like about 5-6 years ago.
Correct, Josh. They took a big turn. And then all of a sudden they started saying things like Christian nationalism and demonizing Christians and pushing the gay stuff, and very abruptly. And you look at the contracts, they were receiving money from USAID.
Mm-hmm.
Ding, 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 ding,
The same
ding,
people
ding,
making Sesame Street for Afghanistan. So like, you're no longer a church. You're a arm of statecraft. Like you have lost your original purpose when you're doing this. There's a great, I recommend everyone watch this. And Rosie, if you can share this in the chat, there's this guy, Mike Benz, who's kind of become known as like one of the first people really digging deep in this. He used to work in the State Department and in the cyber department. And he was big on the misinformation censorship complex, but he goes back into, and again, you got to watch the full speech because it's almost going to sound too crazy unless you see all the receipts. But the United States government started a policy called organized political warfare, started with interfering in an Italian election in 1948. This Italian election featured two candidates, one of which was a communist candidate and one was more favorable to the West. And the rationale at the time was we need to defeat communism abroad. Therefore, we need to do anything we possibly can to defeat this candidate in supposedly a independent election in Italy. And so we poured money into churches, into the mafia, into charity services, into operations to ballot stuff, and we won that election. And so the takeaway was, okay, this is really a powerful tool for us. We need to be able to do this at all times in every country in the world, because no longer could you occupy places through hard power, hard military power. You need to occupy via soft power without military, but by funding everyone's media apparatuses, their churches, their mafias, their street muscle, so that you can impact the results of every election. Interesting fact, Josh, I want to quiz you on this. Do you know the original three agencies of the U.S. government from the beginning?
State, Treasury, and War.
And do you know when it changed to the Department of Defense?
Was it 46?
Oh, very
right around
good.
the same time we started doing all
Yeah.
this. Good job, Josh. So it changed when we started doing all this because we moved to an approach of basically getting our fingers in every pie. And so when I was going through the speech, it was just thing after thing after thing. And the problem with this is if you operate under the guise, and they had explicit policy again in these declassified documents, of plausible deniability, then you have to be duplicitous not only to the world, but to your own citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to lie to the world and say, no, we weren't actually involved here, even though everyone kind of obviously knows you are. But you have to lie to your own citizens saying, no, we actually didn't interfere.
Right.
And I feel personally as an American, not just lied to about our foreign policy, which I kind of already understood, but understanding that we were funding
paid for the propaganda
over the past 4 years.
Right.
I paid for the propaganda to work against me. And they swapped out the word communism for populism. Right. And they treated populism the same way they were treating communists before, and then turned this huge beam in on its own citizens during the COVID
And
era,
got them to
which
pay
was
for it.
unforgivable. And
100%.
I'm so glad we're punishing. And so what Trump did was he went to the biggest bully on the block, USAID, and he punched him in the mouth and said, hey, we're exposing all the crap. This is the tone I'm setting. We're moving on to the Treasury next. I sure as heck hope they move on to the Department of Defense, because I think there's a ton of crap in there too. But it's just exposing. And one thing that's very telling in all of this, I have not seen a single world leader come out and say, oh my gosh, like what are we going to do without our USAID funds? Except maybe aside from Ukraine, in which it was exposed that 9 out of 10 media outlets in Ukraine was funded by USAID. They don't exist and they're not independent because we were paying for them. So it's like, I'm in the Truman Show. We're paying for everyone's.
It's like that one meme
on
the internet where they show the two sides at night, one side launching all these missiles and the other side launching all these missiles at it. And it says, I'm paying for this side bombing. And then on the other side, somehow I'm also paying for this side.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I go and I find, I got a screen share again. Sorry. And I'm probably fuzzy because I'm on, but WikiLeaks came out with something today that I thought was fascinating as well. So if you zoom in here, USAID was funding 6,200 journalists across 707 media outlets and 279 media, air quotes, NGOs, including 9 out of 10 media outlets in Ukraine. That's insane. Like this is soft power influenced by the State Department to influence whatever they want, basically. And it makes me so mad. It makes me feel like I'm in the Truman Show. I'm so glad that they gutted it, by the way. I mean, it's now in the State Department now is in charge of USAID and they fired everyone but like 300 employees. So talk about a remarkable change in personnel and what we're going to be doing going forward. And I'm sure happy to see it because this really drives me crazy.
I think this is a case of sunlight is the best disinfectant, and the exposure of this it's so important for what we voted for with Trump in order for him to be effective at it. Someone was criticizing Marco Rubio on I think it was the show that Scott Jennings is on at CNN or whatever.
Abby Phillips,
Abby Phillips. And one of the they're like, well, Marco Rubio was flipped on USAID because he was so pro them in 2017 and they're like charity and it's our most important foreign aid, efforts. And we're holding off China around the world. Like suddenly they're worried about China. They're like, it was holding off China. But I think that the point is, and Rubio gave an interview on this, is that, in 2017, we didn't have access to this information and it was unclear. And you do go to USAID and you're like, okay, what are you spending it on? And they're like, oh, well, our top recipient is Catholic Relief Services. We're just, we're doing, food in Africa, screens for Malawi kids so they don't get malaria. And you're
help
like,
for people in disadvantaged countries like Peru. And like, oh, sweet. What is it that you're doing?
Really
a transgender comic. You're like,
what?
What? I mean, this is what happens with government, right? Like, they're like, well, surely we need to give food for these starving people in Africa. And like, oh, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I guess. I mean, sure. And then you find out like that's like 5% of what they do. And the other 95% of it is paying off Politico for subscriptions and paying for transgender comics there. I mean, all this garbage stuff that's basically, again, taking care of all their friends. And then when you say, well, we want to do a review of this because 95% of this stuff looks like garbage. And if there is 5% that we actually should keep them, maybe we'll do it. And then, of course, they squawk. I mean, this is, again, I made this point in the Loopcast years ago. Like, if you had a federal government program that only did two things, one of which was giving critical nourishment to babies in the NICU. And the other thing that this federal agency did was to give, needles for drug users. And the Senate was like, maybe we should cut the funding in this agency in half because we only like half of what it does. And the other half we don't. Then the agency would say, okay. And they would get rid of helping out the babies in the NICU.
Exactly.
Right? And people are like, wait, why would you get rid of the thing that doesn't make sense? No, they'll get rid of the thing that you want so that you scream and holler and Congress restores the funding.
Right.
It's not like they're going to get rid of the bad stuff. So they only get rid of the good stuff. That's like why when we had the government shutdown under Obama, he pays people in the National Park Service to put things around the monument so people can't access it. That cost money. Like, you actually had to pay people to cut people off from the Washington Monument. It's a flipping monument. You can walk up and down the Lincoln Memorial. But these people are evil.
Sorry, Erica, what were you gonna say?
Well, no, I was just gonna say, I think that's exactly the response. So Catholic Relief Services, yeah, speaking of trivia that I did not know, the top recipient of funds from USAID is Catholic Relief Services. So they've been getting about half of their $1.5 billion budget came from USAID. And of course, the National Catholic Reporter, National Communist Reporter, as Josh likes to say, was totally like up in arms about this morning. And of course, the argument is, oh my goodness, babies are going to die. They didn't have to do it this way, blah, blah, blah. And like, yes, they do good things, but there is so much dross and there's so much ideology. Wouldn't it be better to cut it off and to rebuild from the bottom up, mission oriented, and not dependent on government for all of this?
Can you clarify some of the controversial things that Catholic Relief Services is known for?
Yeah, so there have been questions in the past if they are funding things like contraception and even clinics that provide abortions overseas. These are alleged controversies, and it's unclear whether or not they're doing that. But
I think the biggest concern from my perspective on Catholic charities is that,
relief services.
we have
Relief
this,
Services.
sorry, Catholic Relief Services. I mean, there's both Catholic Charities and Catholic Relief Services, both of these agencies, right? And they, is it the Catholic Relief Services is the one that primarily oversees, and Catholic Charities is domestic? Is that what the distinction is?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest problem with, for example, Catholic Charities here in the United States is that we had under 4 years of Biden rampant illegal immigration, a wide open border. And Catholic Charities is like, well, we have to help these people, take care of them. And the federal government's like, we'll provide you money if you do. And my only concern, my major concern with this is that we are facilitating this illegal movement of people all throughout Latin America and through Mexico. And who does it enrich? Does it help people in the United States? No. It suppresses wages for lower and middle class workers. Does it help the migrants? Not really, no, because a lot of them were sexually abused. They're put into sexual or work slavery in the United States. And who is enriched by it? The cartels, billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars the cartels got. So, it would be better to shut the system off. To me, if someone is starving in the desert and you want to take care of them, I'm not mad about that. Help them, sure. But the thing is, the system is broken, and it's good that Donald Trump has shut off the border and we're not doing this anymore. And you would think Catholics of all people would be like, thank God.
I will say, I truly believe that more is going to come out about USAID or AID. And I think that all the things that felt like weird, inorganic, strange are going to be tied back to that money. Like a great example, I'm waiting for the connection to Black Lives Matter or the George Floyd riots. Like those made no sense to me. Antifa, a lot of that going on. I'm sure that there was somehow money being funneled there. All of the LGBTQ activism, the corporate equality index, things like that. I'm sure that's going to be funneled somehow back to USAID. And so I'm glad that it's being shut off now. I'm curious what we're going to get exposed even further on investigation.
Just so people understand, like, we are not saying every last nickel is a problem. I mean, I'd like to joke that it's like 99% of USAID projects make the other 1% look bad. There is that element of it. But my friend, Andrew Walther, the late Andrew Walther, taken from us way too soon, he was with the Knights of Columbus, and he actually was able to get actual good funding out of USAID to help Christians who are ravaged by the war in Iraq. And that was, honestly, we as a country had a responsibility to do that precisely because our stupid foreign policy on Iraq. I was mistaken on that too. So I'm not going to try to pretend like I was holier than thou from day one. We screwed up that entire country. We set it on fire, let radicals run that country rampant, millions of Christians displaced. And Andrew Walther and the Knights of Columbus were able to work with USAID and get some good funding to help people who are completely displaced. I never felt more proud of like foreign aid dollars on that. So I'm not like 1,000% religiously against any foreign aid money at all. But I do think to myself, when it comes to foreign aid, everything has to be scrutinized. And this argument, like, well, it's only, you may complain of, $600,000 for, this is a waste of money. It's like, listen, any money we spend, we don't have. We are borrowing money from China. So does it make sense to borrow $600,000 from China to pay for a transgender comic book in Peru? Yes or no? No, of course not.
No.
So this is stupid. So if we're actually going to give rice to starving people in Africa, okay, fine. But if we're going to spend millions of dollars for Politico subscriptions and transgender comics, and give me a break. Americans have a right to be outraged, and Democrats who are squawking and screaming to their threats to democracy. Remember, the reason they're screaming is that Donald Trump is a threat to our bureaucracy.
I'm here for it. And I think just to that point that there is a place for foreign aid, there is a place for America, acting in the world. Like, we're not isolationist here. But I think the problem with USAID and the bureaucracy, the deep state that is being uncovered here, is that they see themselves as a shadow government, that they are not beholden at all to the American constitutional order. And that's Rubio's point in his interview this week. He was saying that, look, we're going to bring it under the State Department, and we want to be able to do these good things in the world. But the more the problem is that the people who were doing them slowly over the years accumulated this conviction that they're an independent state, practically, that the American taxpayer is just shoveling money into with no accountability. And that's the problem. That's why we got to shut it all down.
CIA and other bureaucrats to do whatever the hell they want.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I'd say, for me personal, just observing all of this, people are so terrified of Trump because, and I think they're shrieking now because they're seeing a president prepared to actually do what he wants to do.
Follow through.
And I think it's also been very revealing to me that many of these supposed, senators or people that came in to change things and do this or that, they all went along with the program. And they didn't vote against any of these people. They didn't do anything to change anything. And they just operated as a controlled opposition, like the Washington Generals, as Josh always said. And
Tom, it's even more than that. People in the Trump camp, White House, have said that Republican senators have come to Trump and talking about the USAID stuff. And you know what they've been saying? I'll put it this way. Afterwards, those Republican senators said, well, we just wanted to ask some questions about it. And someone inside the Trump White House was like, no, they weren't asking questions. They came to complain, and they were complaining very loud. They did not like the cuts.
Oh, really? Senator Thune.
So when we kind of complain about some of these Republican senators, like John Thune, the majority leader, John Cornyn from Texas, he's horrible. Everyone at Texas, listen to this. Get rid of John Cornyn, please.
Please.
Give me a break. He's like rhino extraordinaire. Like Texas is a beautiful state full of wonderful people. It is more America than the rest of America combined. And you got John Cornyn. You could do better. Come on, man.
You and Tom must get your information from the same place because Tom McCluskey told us the exact same thing last episode.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, it's for all the people shrieking about Trump being a dictator, this and that. It's like we're witnessing for the first time someone actually putting in personnel policy. I voted to put him there, by the way. And everyone's always like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're so happy. Are you happy now? Look at this. Look what he's doing. Like, yes, actually, I'm super happy. I voted for all of this.
I love it when they think that, though. Like, okay, now hold on a second. Perhaps you don't know what he's really actually doing. Let me explain now the exact thing. He's not just promising to do it. He actually followed through and did it. And then we're like, I know. That is shocking, isn't it? We thought they'd never come through for it, and he has.
Political will here.
What says it more than this picture?
For 4 years.
I mean, Trump surrounded by all the girls, signing the executive order, keeping men out of their sport. The NCAA follows literally this morning or yesterday saying, okay, now they can't compete. It's like sometimes culture is downstream of politics. And guess what? I voted for this. The majority of Americans want this. And so I think back to the 80-20 point, Trump is so actively in people's face, doing good PR, doing what people want him to do. At the same time, you got this like crack team of savages that are ready to go, ready to manipulate the gears of power in DC. And then you have kind of J.D. Vance in the middle of all of it, being the intellect, reason, logic, speaking to people, going to places you should be. Man, what a time to be alive. It's like just watching an effective team that actually wants to win. I'm like, this is amazing. We have someone in office that actually wants to win.
We could do this. Right.
It's insane. This is what being the deep state is like. Tom McCluskey says often, like, yeah, this is what it feels like.
Well, I just sent you the thing in the chat here. Compare that photo to this other photo.
Oh gosh, do I even want to put it up?
Is it family friendly?
It's family friendly.
Okay.
Come on, man. Yeah, I know. Oh, actually, no. I thought you were going to send me some gross. Okay.
No, this is good. I mean, again, like you say with the 80-20, Trump picks these things that are super popular. So here's a photo of, what is it?
Chuck
Peter
Schumer.
Meyer is not even he's a never Trumper Republican even, but he's like this press conference where you got Chuck Schumer, like nothing screams the future like a 74-year-old leading a chant next to an 86-year-old while a 77-year-old vigorously shakes his cane in support.
Oh my gosh.
Now Nancy Pelosi, she has a cane.
She's a walker. Two canes.
Yeah.
She's like, and she's escorted by the elbow. And
you see,
they don't know what hit
you got
them.
Trump during the campaign driving the garbage truck. Now you got him in the photo with like 100 like young happy girls are just like, thank you for saving us, for saving sports. Like you Democrats are stepping on rake after rake, man. And
yep.
Did you see anything worse for someone so horrible?
Did you see McConnell fall up the stairs?
No. Yeah, I saw that he was like out.
Yeah, he's got 2 years left. I think it's time to tap out when your term's done there, bro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, he might be tapping out of life. I mean, he's old. I mean, go ahead.
I renew the call. I wish we would have some congressman or senator just to put forward an idea. And it can, again, grandfather it, but 80 is enough. We have minimum age requirements to serve in the House, the Senate, and the presidency, 25, 30, and 35 respectively. We could have a maximum age sufficient, requirement. Like, sorry, man, make it 75, make it 80, whatever 80 is enough, and then you're done. Chuck Grassley, entertaining on Twitter, funny guy, votes the right way, but he's like 90 years old.
Yeah, he needs to go.
Can we find someone else in Iowa that could fill this position? I think we could. Okay.
Yeah, and good comment from Mark in the chat. The real Trump legacy for future generations of politicians is the public expectation that a politician from this point forward is expected to really follow through on their campaign promises. Mm-hmm. Amen to that, man. Seriously.
Well, Democrats, they do follow through on their campaign promises. It's only our side. We're like, why can't we ever do this? Why can't we? That was the big emotional thing I think you need to realize about politics for the last 25 years. Okay. We keep electing we elect George W. Bush and he bombs the hell out of other countries. And then he's going to try to privatize Social Security. Like nothing happened. Nothing really good happened. I got a tax cut out of it. Great. Big deal. We keep electing conservatives. They campaign like they're Thomas Jefferson, like, get rid of government. I'm going to abolish this agency and this department and this. And then what? And the third one, oops, Rick Perry can't even get the right thing right. But I think Obergefell, the decision in 2013 was so massive because it basically told all conservatives, like, see, these guys always find a freaking way to win. They always win. They keep pushing this and pushing. They push it in the culture. They push it in the law, executive orders, Congress, and then finally it just caves. Where are we winning? And so for a long time, it was like, we're just never, they pushed gay marriage on in 10 years, they get the Supreme Court to go their way. And we've been pushing the court for 40 years and we didn't get it. If we didn't get Dobbs in 2022, dude, it would have been a dark moment for the Republic because it basically would say the system is totally rigged and you never get what you want. It's only one-sided. Like, even if you didn't care about abortion, it was good for the Republic. It was good for our society, our political order, because otherwise you start to really worry about, like, you guys just get to amend the Constitution for whatever the hell you want. But we work through the system and we just get stabbed in the back every time. So
no more principled losing.
Hey, so important.
Josh, question. They're talking about bringing Obergefell to the Supreme Court.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon.
Okay, you don't think so? They're saying it.
Not in the next 4 years.
What
no.
is it? Is it Idaho?
Idaho's asking for permission to basically not have Obergefell for their own state. Mm-hmm. Again, I think the Supreme Court. I think what will happen is probably the circuit court above them will basically say, nah, and it won't get to the Supreme Court just yet. But we'll see. I'm skeptical. It's going to take a lot of cultural change before some of these judges will allow this stuff to move forward or whatever. So I don't see it. And it may never. I don't say never, but it may be a long time.
Quite a bit. So I got an email before we get into the Twilight Zone.
Ooh.
And it was someone directed at Erica. Hey, Tom, Erica has been getting credit for her stellar Trump impersonation, but I think her JD Vance is just as convincing. I have 9 kids, so I often need to pause the podcast. Occasionally I get a good chuckle from the expressions on your faces when I hit pause, but this was just too good. I had to make it into a meme. Hope you all enjoy. So I got a meme for everyone here. Let's see.
Oh boy.
Here's the gang.
Oh my goodness. All right, zoom in. I can't see that.
There we go. I don't really care, Margaret.
Oh, yeah. Because I don't really care, Margaret.
So yeah, meme us up. I take all memes.
Thanks, guys.
I'd like that to be a new initiative for this podcast. We make a lot of expressions here. Josh has probably made at least 20 memes in one episode so far. So talk about coming back ready to go.
Today was a big day for Josh. Yeah, he's back and better than ever. I mean, we gotta have more days with Josh off because he just comes back. He's got a lot to say. Yeah. This is great.
Yeah, he's got the zest for life right now, baby. Zest for the LOOPcast. Okay. Speaking of, we go to the Twilight Zone now. Josh, you're up first.
I mean, there's so much. I mean, first I want to say I live here in Michigan, and one of the state representatives here, her name is Lori Pohutsky. She opted to voluntarily sterilize herself to avoid pregnancy in Donald Trump's America.
Oh my gosh.
I saw that. That's crazy.
I mean, that is just absolute Twilight Zone kind of material.
It's like she voluntarily entered The Handmaid's Tale. She voluntarily said, I will be the sterile woman now. And aren't you accusing us of forcing you to do this? And you're like, I have bravely cut off my tubes. And you're like, that's not brave. That's just disgusting.
You know what this kind of reminds me of a little bit is there's still, so actually the USAID trough has been cut off. So I feel like a lot of these accounts will mysteriously go away, but there's a lot of left-wing accounts on Twitter that clip up. And I'm like, I can't imagine having to be a Democrat account right now. It must be so deflating, but they were clipping up stuff from Trump's executive order signing for keeping men out of women's sports. And then someone had a quote tweet on it, basically saying wow, driving trans kids to suicide is the best that the Trump administration has to offer. Great work. And it kind of reminds me of this case as well. If your political ideology would frame in such a way that you feel any urge at all to sterilize yourself, something's wrong.
Or mutilate yourself.
It's so not. Ugh. It's not based in reality at all. So there's something going on. There's something you're consuming. There's some, value system that you've kind of adopted.
But it's the embodiment. So many of these people, I call them well, actually, by the way, in terms of now that Donald Trump is winning over Black and Hispanic men, the most reliable demographics for the Democratic Party still remain Black women. I mean, it's off the charts, and liberal white women who are college educated or whatever. And that person we just described who sterilized herself. And if that's your coalition, good luck.
Yeah.
But for my Twilight Zone, I can't help it. This USAID stuff, it's just so much to go for. So here we got a grant, $349,000. Okay. So 350 grand. Okay. Now think about how much 350 grand, how much help you could do for 350 grand, tax cuts, something, whatever.
Rebuild North Carolina.
Give that to rebuild a home in North Carolina. That'd be a perfect thing. But instead of rebuilding a home in North Carolina, we gave that money to the University of Washington and this is the description of the grant, developing a Spanish language homosaurus using multi-language linked to data, enhancing LGBTQ resource discoverability.
What's a homosaurus?
Literally a gay dinosaur.
What? What does that even mean?
The homosaurus facilitates improved access to LGBTQ resources and cultural heritage institutions. This project is a 3-year collaboration with the Arizona Queer Archives, San Francisco Public Library, and the UCLA Chicano Studies Research Center. Each partner has LGBTQ collections that would benefit from the addition of Spanish metadata. The implications of this project for linked open data and multi-language discovery systems are considerable. Really?
What does that even mean?
$350,000 to help develop a Spanish language homosaurus. I mean, if you don't think there's government ways.
My favorite thing to do now is for example, they're pushing some Amy Schumer video or a movie on Netflix. I just accuse everything of getting USAID. Like, this reeks of USAID. Anything that's weird, unnatural, the WNBA, probably getting USAID. I'm going to be honest.
Oh,
you can
doesn't make sense.
I'm just letting you know, though, there's a whole logo and everything for this. If you want to, you can actually go online.
Do we need to see the logo? I don't know.
I kind of want to see the logo of the Homosaurus.
Yeah, you can go online.
Dude, say less.
And
no way! This is better than I thought.
Share it with their viewers.
Oh yeah!
If you're interested in purchasing some Homosaurus swag, you can visit their online shops. All proceeds go to support the project or are donated to LGBTQ
Brontosaurus with a rainbow behind it. Oh my gosh!
Oh no way! This is such a great find, Josh.
What we need is a Christian nationalist meteorite to take care of.
Oh man!
Oh my goodness!
It's like you laugh or you cry. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, this is $350,000 well spent for this logo.
I mean, sorry you have to go after me on this one.
I know. I'm just kind of like speechless, jaw dropping. Yeah.
Oh man,
we should have had Josh go last. Okay, this Homosaurus.
I mean, you laugh and you cry. Oh man,
we'll keep laughing. We'll keep laughing.
Go ahead, Erica.
Oh my gosh. Okay, rest on the scales. Okay, Sean Duffy. I'm a fan. Big Sean Duffy, our girl here. So Sean Duffy, the new Secretary of Transportation, replacement for Pete Buttigieg, who is gay and loves trains, probably also loves the Homosaurus.
Oh, by the way, I saw my trip.
Yeah, you saw
on my flight.
Did you say hi?
Oh, that's awesome.
I was not close enough to say hi to Buttigieg. He was about 20 rows ahead of me. I'm sitting there like, oh my goodness gracious! Of course he's on my flight.
It's great. Okay, so he's father of 9. He has a real 5-year-old daughter, Valentina, who has Down syndrome, who is hanging out with Trump this week. But in his professional capacity, Sean Duffy announced this week that I can't even talk. The Homosaurus killed me. Department of Transportation is going to give money preferably to communities with high birth rates. So that means they are going to give preferential funding to communities where there are more babies being born, which, as someone who is interested in the future of our country, makes perfect sense to me. Mm-hmm. The Independent could not wrap its mind around this. And in their coverage, this seems to indicate that communities like the Dakotas, parts of Nebraska, will get their projects funded before communities like low birth rate Vermont, Massachusetts, and Oregon. And they just can't understand.
It's not like they can say, far be it for us to be opposed to preferential treatment, because that's all they know. That's all they ever do is preferential treatment.
And now they're upset because it's not preferring them. So Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey is quoted in the piece, and she's just saying, I've got to be honest. I've really tried here, and I just don't see a connection. Massachusetts is a state that's very serious about ensuring that our residents and our businesses have access to high-quality public transit to the entire country. She failed to mention they are also a sanctuary city in Boston, and they also prefer to give their money to the illegals. And then Jessica Tillotman, an associate dean for government procurement law at the George Washington University Law School, she said, "This is the first time I have ever seen what I call a collateral preference for marriage and birth rate." And you just think, these people really don't understand. Their minds are frozen, thinking, wait, you should get more money if you're having more babies and children for the future of this country.
Yeah, because
And
guess
I
what
say,
happens
yes.
to those kids when they're, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old? They start, I don't know, transporting more often, you idiots. Like, it would make sense.
Guys, you're acting as though this is all organic. None of this is organic. We live in the Truman Show. Go watch the Mike Benz thing. I got my hat on. Our own universities are big time funded by our government. What do you think their directives were? Like, you're like, oh, it never even occurred to me that the common sense thing that if you have more babies and more people, they'll need help with more transportation, because they've pushed all the fakest, most gay rationale for
Gay
the world
dinosaur
ever.
stuff, right?
Gay dinosaurs. Like, you remember What Is a Woman, right? And What Is a Woman was like this culturally bomb that just went off to be like, how could Matt Walsh sit next to a college professor that could not tell you what a woman was? None of this is organic. I'm telling you, all of this ties back to what we were funding. Our own government is funding our universities. They're funding media. I'm telling you, if you take a look now that the aid spigot's been cut off, you're going to find major podcasts, major shows that will disappear. They'll either disappear or their viewership
Politico
will
didn't make
go
payroll
under.
last week.
Politico didn't make payroll. So if you think, I'm telling you, so much more than you actually think you might have thought is legitimate because it was doing big numbers and they had big sponsors or whatever. It was all fake and propped up.
We have been socially engineered. That is what has happened.
I'm on the Truman
Show.
Show.
What? As Brian told me, it's amazing that our side won, considering we are financing our opposition.
Exactly.
Now imagine after we cut off the spigot and stop financing our opposition, we might start winning again. A lot more.
Totally.
It could
might be over. Because if you even look politically, we talked about the A20 issues. So if you lose all of your basically guerrilla advantage of controlling universities, media, churches in a lot of cases, culture at the bottom, voting apparatuses, think of the Planned Parenthoods of the world, all the activist groups. If they all of a sudden lose all their money, you need to go back to actually how the other side does it. You need to actually organize at a grassroots level, work within the court system to try to win there. All the issues that they're campaigning on right now. I mean, we all watched the DNC, the chair meeting.
Problems with the Wi-Fi again, but we're with you on that one, brother. So
100%.
First of all, before we get in any further, I agree with Jan in the chat. Make sure you give the show a thumbs up, like the program, share it with your friends, tell people, sign up for the Loop. That's all very important. And absolutely, we are in a situation where we have financed our enemies, and it'll be nice to cut the spigot out. Next thing on the agenda, by the way, should be cutting off funding for Planned Parenthood.
Well, they've cut off funding for my internet connection here at the office. So we might be USAID. I swear, this has been 2 times this episode. We have a request, Erica, for a book recommendation at the end of every show. I don't know if you can do every show, but maybe today would be a good one.
I do every show? Is the Pope Catholic? I mean...
Well,
no, Mercer, don't answer that. Don't answer that question.
I could also give a book recommendation.
Okay. But we asked for Erica, Josh. Actually,
they didn't ask.
Actually, we asked for Erica's book recommendation. So I think we need Erica's.
Okay.
You can go after.
Do you want one right now?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go with, at the moment, okay, this is actually from Tan Books, and I was thinking I haven't been doing enough spiritual reading. I never really got back on the spiritual reading bandwagon after the baby was born, and that was almost 11 months ago. Sorry, Lord Jesus. So I was like, I need something easy and digestible for very busy woman. I picked up A Year with the Mystics from Tan. It's put together a compilation by Catherine Jean Lopez, who is known for National Review, but she's also a very devout Catholic. And it has been exactly the thing. And it's a very beautifully bound book. It has a little 1 paragraph from some Catholic saint or from the scriptures every day, 365 days. And yeah, I'd recommend it. A Year with the Mystics from Tan Books.
Awesome.
That's what I'm reading right now.
Q Decius recommended, actually asked for Josh's as well now. Now that we've gotten Erica's, of course.
The one I'm reading right now is Don's Really Light, the book that Kevin Roberts wrote, just talking about
I want to read that.
The agenda that this new administration should focus on. And it's really good stuff. And Kevin Roberts had a Heritage Foundation. He's really taking it, I think, in a very positive direction. Heritage was, all throughout the 80s, 90s, 2000s, did good work, but they're like, we just focus on the military, trying to make
Yeah.
the
It's very
government better,
limited.
but we're not doing the social issues. We don't care.
Mhm.
Cameron's just like, dude, we should have a government that promotes family. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Culture
And
warrior. Let's do it.
and so it's a good book. And there are some, there are some surprises in it because he brings in some biographical stuff. He had a rough background, like it was different, but similar in a sense to what J.D. Vance experienced. There's some pretty good stuff in there. So I recommend Don's Early Light.
So I actually didn't get to do a Twilight Zone. I'd like to give a shout out to Hillsdale College. I usually try not to do free ads, but
Love you, Hillsdale.
I actually know someone kind of behind Hillsdale's Twitter account, and they are hysterical.
They are so funny.
As you know, I'm very frustrated with the Truman Show existence that I've lived in. But one thing for certain, Hillsdale College marked safe from USAID grants today. You won't find taxpayer money.
They take no federal funding at all. No state funding.
They don't take any federal funding.
That's what
state funding is a different thing. It's indirect, but
Oh.
It's funny though. Like Hillsdale was putting out some pretty good, conservative stuff about all it, and someone said, maybe you should be cut off from all your federal funds.
Yeah.
And Hillsdale just retweeted like, who wants to tell them?
Who wants to tell them?
The chat was having so much fun roasting this dude.
Yeah. Hey, while we're doing Hillsdale shout outs, I want to do a shout out to the Hillsdale mock trial team, which is killing it this year. Both their A and B team beat Notre Dame. So I just have to brag a little bit.
Wait, do you have a bias? Is your daughter on that team?
My daughter's on the mock trial team. Yeah.
That makes sense. No wonder they're so good.
Oh, thank you. That was very kind of you. But it's a bunch of really great kids. So pretty fun.
Someone asked for a book recommendation to me. I don't read books currently. I slept on the floor.
You read books to your son.
Well, yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? I will give a recommendation. Curious George, the full collection.
Yes.
We did. My son is basic. We've discovered my son is Curious George. I think he's been learning from the book, and he dumped an entire detergent down a drainage pipe, and then dumped an entire borax down the same drainage pipe. And
what?
Yeah, so he's Curious George. But yeah, Curious George book's sick, especially the chocolates one of my favorites. That's what I've been getting into lately. Thomas the Train, that's a big one. Big Thomas guy. So yeah, that's what I got for you guys. That's where I'm at. I'm going to be honest. A lot of people won't admit that they're not reading books.
You're in the triage moment of young parenthood. We get it.
We'll ask you again in 10 years what you're reading.
Yeah, please. Maybe my reading will have matured at that point. I'm actually kind of excited.
It does come back. It comes back.
I'm excited to read books that I loved from my childhood when he gets a little bit older. So I wonder if I have any that.
Just my youngest is going to turn 10 this year, and I feel like I'm finally starting to read stuff I want to read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea.
All right, I won't get too excited. Yeah. All right, good to know. But yeah, maybe let me know if you guys have any good books for. Someone said I look like the dad in Trash Truck, which is a Netflix show. I don't know if there's any Trash Trucks ad.
I did not know Trash Truck.
I've been getting some pretty funny emails lately. So I'm the dad in Trash Trucks, which is sick. But anyway, good episode, guys. Wild Friday. If you want to help us out, join the Champions Club, catholicvote.org/champions. Best way to do that. Leave us reviews. I've gotten some really nice reviews on Apple Podcasts. I'd like to thank a few people actually for doing that. Very sweet, very encouraging. They balanced out a lot of the angry people who don't like Trump for some reason. So that was pretty sick. So I appreciate that. If you want to email me, loopcast@catholicvote.org. And then, pray for us. St. Thomas More, St. Fidelis, Our Lady of Guadalupe. Pray for us. And we'll see you guys on Monday.